We face many moral dilemmas in our day-to-day life. Some are small, while others occupy our thoughts day and night. Should I eat a salad or order fast food? What role should artificial intelligence play in our society? And what morals should we program these systems with? What role should emotions play in a democracy? Is the use of social media as a form of mass media ethical? Are zoos ethical? To some extent, we all think about these questions, and they can make us feel worrisome about the future generations that will inhabit our planet once we're gone. A rather difficult decision I faced towards the start of my freshman year was how I would involve myself on campus. On one side, my emotions took the reins and dictated myself to stay in my own bubble and refuse stepping out solely because I feared rejection and disappointment. My anxiety towards broadening my horizons acted like a warm blanket on a rainy day, soaking me with false security while I ignored the blatant truth that I'd be leading myself into a slippery slope of self-doubt and timidness. The other side of this would be accepting the vulnerability of taking the risk and realizing that the positives outweighed the negatives. There is an obvious answer to this, but often our emotions play a big part in how we make decisions. Instead of appealing to my pathos, I figured I'd start small by joining a club that I would feel most comfortable in. Slippery Rock's eSports club offered this inclusive environment, and eventually I found myself taking more and more risks by helping with video production and live streaming for the club. This transition into a role of responsibility was at first daunting, but as our current social chair put it, the use of streaming from the club's point of view is to mostly broaden our audience, not limiting it just to SRU students or players. This really opened my perception of the role clubs play not only on a campus-wide level, but on a broader level. It made me want to be a greater impact to other communities and allowed me to appreciate the work I was already doing. Currently, I've been elected secretary for next year's committee and hope to continue my role in the club. More importantly is the question of how this rapid transition happened. It seemed like such a drastic change over the course of 6 months to go from an uncertain future about what role I wanted to take in my 4 years at Slippery Rock to be an active part in a club's community. Most high schoolers fear this transition from a place of comfort to a new unknown environment. Martha Nussbaum in her book The Monarchy of Fear describes this concept. When people are afraid of one another and of an unknown future, fear easily rises. She later goes on to write, "We should not fear our fear, but we should always examine it, since giving way to fear is dangerous." Examining our fears, then, is a more productive way of settling between two choices, since it allows you to become more rational. On top of this, one can feel more positive emotions from choosing logically than from appealing to one's fears. Think of a time when you've backed out of an obligation because you were too nervous or fearful of what might happen. Regret immediately fills your stomach as you think about how much fun you could have been having. Instead, sticking with an obligation allows you to build confidence that you might make the right decision, and also exhibits the most positive emotions. Referring to Zeev, again, the eSports social chair, he shared his experience with me of how his role in the club shaped his future. My place on the e-board has affected my student life by giving myself more confidence with student activities. Being part of the leadership in the eSports club has given me confidence in speaking about eSports and my participation in my class, to other classmates as well as to teachers. His story shares similarities to mine, in that we both feel more confident with our involvement. By going out there and stepping out of our comfort zones, we allowed our vulnerability to cultivate new skills that will help us to transition into life after college.